Hello, followers of Christ. I hope that you've had a blessed day. I hope God is working in your life like He's working in mine. I hope that you are able to build your faith and you're working on building your faith and you are preparing yourself for the blessings that God has for you and also preparing yourself for the challenges that are coming our way. So, today I want to talk about blessings during a time of grief. This is a little hard. I'm trying to get through this without getting too emotional. So if I pause too much, I do apologize for it. A few weeks, the past 3 weeks, I have been, I wasn't a witness to it because I didn't see it happen, but I know of 3 people that passed in a 1 week period. It started out, I got a call on a Sunday of someone that passed away. I got a call on a Tuesday, someone had passed away. Call on a Thursday, someone had passed away. Now, I have dealt with a lot of death the last decade, basically, in my life. And every person that you love, you hold in your heart, there's a magnitude of grief that comes when they're no longer with you. And for me, over this past decade, it's been a fluctuation up and down. Some of them have been more painful than others, as far as not necessarily saying I love them less. It was just the connection, the stronghold of, the expectancy of the death, the way that they passed or things like that was all entire, all of that matters when it comes to grieving. Believe it or not, how a person is taken from you, how a person leaves this earth, it affects your grief. And so this particular one, the final one that I received, it was something I had never experienced before. I'm say it that way. Because on the day of the, that I found out they passed that day, that morning, I was upset. I was hurt. I was crying. The family we were all very emotional. But then, that's the first initial, right? Well, after talking to the family and finding out what happened, my emotions started changing. I started feeling the need to rejoice. And I know y'all probably saw that little one video about rejoicing. And it was something that I had never experienced, where I'm sad, but at the same time there was a level of joy that went with that sadness. And I found myself evaluating the situation where God had gave me a gift in the process of taking one of his children home. So what do I mean by that? I'm trying to be respectful of their and not put out too many details. But I will say this. Normally, when a loved one has passed, and what my experience is, there's usually it's very unexpected. You know, sometimes there's pain, sickness involved. There's pain involved. There's the person may have been in the hospital or on the way to the hospital or was needing to seek some type of care, and then they passed away. Or they had been suffering for many, many years, many, many months, and they finally they got tired of fighting. But this one It wasn't like that. This particular deal, this person was in a joyous mindset, and they were going about their day. They were doing things. They were excited about what was to come that day. I was excited because I was supposed to see them that day, and I was preparing to see them. I was, doing everything that I could to make sure that their visit to my home was as welcoming as could be, because I was just so honored that they were choosing to spend their time with me for that particular day. This person, no, wasn't sick or anything like that. We didn't expect it. So when they passed, it was hard. But then when I heard about how even literally the moment when they passed, they were not in any pain. There was no pain. There was no fear. There was no loneliness. There was no sadness. At first, I wanted to get mad. I wanted to scream at God and be like, they were living their best life. Why did you take them? But then I didn't. I held my feelings. I refused that emotion. And I said, wait, let me think about this. And I realized that I was receiving a gift from God by them not going through pain, suffering, sickness, sorrow, or sadness during their time of death. It's one of those things where you hear the cliche, if I could go any way, I want to die happy. It was in that sense, they were happy when they died. And that doesn't happen often. So for it to happen, for me to be aware of that, be able to see and witness that, it showed me, God was showing me, this is how I'm blessing you. Like, He understands the pain, the grief we go through when we lose loved ones. Even though we know and we believe that their spirit is going with God, that God has, they're asleep until the rapture, right? Even though we know that, but this body that we have this is just a machine that's being operated until God calls us home. It doesn't make losing them on this earth any easier, because you still will have a void in your life when they're gone. But to know that God gave me a gift in the process. And the reason why I'm calling it a gift is because it didn't have to go that way. It could have went any kind of way. Y'all know there are so many different ways a life can be taken unexpectedly. But for Him to do it that way, I felt like He gave us a gift. He blessed us with a joyful death. Now, I told you I've been reading Proverbs. And I read this chapter. I was reading chapters 8 through 10. I told you I was slow reader, so don't judge me. There was this one verse. It said, no, that wasn't 8 through 10. That was actually 11 through 14. Chapter 14, verse 13. Even laughter, a heart may be sad. Even with laughter, a heart may be sad. And joy may end in grief. Joy may end in grief, right? So, I'm happy that God blessed me with knowing that the person that I love dearly is no longer here. Died without feeling any pain, suffering, sorrow, sadness, right? So that's the joy. But I'm still sad that they're gone. That's something that I've never experienced before. I don't know if you all have experienced that, People say, wisdom comes with time. But to, like, even when I was explaining it to my mom, she was like, well, what happened? Well, were they sick? Did they, she was trying to, she was, because most of the time we associate death with pain, sorrow, and sadness. We hardly associate death with a joyous, even though when we go to the funerals and they say we supposed to be celebrating, we supposed to be joyous, you rarely feel the joy until later on. Like, it's usually, a long way, 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 way down the road, and you finally feel the joy. But I was blessed with being able to feel the joy that same day. And I didn't know what I was feeling, but I felt it. And then now that I've read the scriptures, I understand what it is now. It was having joy at the time of grief. One of the things that God has blessed us with. There is a lot of death going on. There is a lot of changes going on in this world. And God is protecting his people from having to go through unnecessary suffering, both on earth or physical. And so this particular moment, I felt good about how I felt with this particular death. So my grieving process looks very different. And it may confuse a lot of people. It looks very different. Now, I still have my sad moments. They still come in waves, but they don't last as long because God reminds me of the gift he gave me. So, and I do feel that gift that he gave had a lot to do with the faith that I've built with God when it comes to death. I'm a strong believer that God has a say of the first and last breath. And I give him all the authority over my life of when that day will come. It can come in the next 5 seconds. And I'm okay with that because I know that he only is taking me because my work here is done. I've done everything that he wanted me to do or needed me to do or the purpose that he created me. And now it's time for me to go home. Even in knowing that and believing that in the past, the pain just never really went away. And so, but I kept believing it. I kept holding strong to it. Even one of my most difficult losses, it took me years to get over that loss. I still believe that God was in the midst of that. That was his plan because their work was done. Even when I go back and play, I always go back and replay, the last days that I've spent with someone that I've lost. And a lot of times I see things or see them doing things or they do things out of the ordinary that they never done before. It's almost like a form of completion. Like they're packing, getting ready to go somewhere. And in the sense of like they go visit people they haven't seen in a while, or they finish a chore that they haven't done in a while, or they get their papers, they've been getting their paperwork and stuff in order, and they've been having conversations with loved ones that based on things they need to make sure that they do in the future and things like that. And so I play those type of series in my head because again it helps me to continue to make sure that I don't lose my faith when someone's taken from me. I have to see the God in the reason, and I have to see God in the operation of it. And so that's why I do that. I don't know if that will help you guys. I hope and pray it does. If you've lost someone and it's painful, go back and play those last few days. See if you can recognize when God was present during that time, preparing them for their last days. Because that will make grieving and mourning the death of someone a lot more manageable. It's not never going to be easy, but it'll be more manageable because you know that God was with them, not just in their last breath, but in their last hours, in their last days. You know, it's phenomenal. Read the Word of God. Read up on, and I don't know what book it's in, so I apologize for it. But before he raised Lazarus from the dead, read about the steps of the days before his death and how it played out. And it will. I hope it helps you all. It definitely helped me. That's what got me to believe what I believe now, and I've held strong to it for decades now. So now I feel like because of my faith and believing and trusting in God that He's with us in our last days, in our last hour, in our last breath. He's like, because of your tremendous discipline and knowing who I am and what my authority is, and that my love and compassion is with you always throughout your days, I'm going to bless you during this time. I'm going to give you a gift. I call it a blessing, but it felt more like a gift. And so I'm so grateful for that. That's how I was able to know that 2026 was going to be a good year, because for him to give me a gift of such magnitude, it laid the foundation of what I needed to walk into this year. He wanted me to walk into it different, and I have, and I'm standing on it, and I'm believing on it. And I'm going to keep you guys posted as time goes throughout this year on how I'm being blessed. Like, I literally am seeing things, like there's things that's happening even in the relationship with my children. God has blessed me at least every day this week. I've received a blessing from God, and it's not showing up like you guys think it is. It's not like, oh, there's financial or physicality to it. There's blessings for things that I have wanted, like getting closer to my children. He's, allowing me to have that time with them individually. That's a blessing for me. For other people, I don't know. But for me, that's a blessing. And I thank God for that time that I'm able to spend with them, regardless of what it's about or what we're meeting about or talking about. I'm blessed to just be able to have that time with them. So, in your time of grief, there can also be some joy if you allow it and you trust God and you believe in what He's doing, and you believe that His plan is the true plan. Even though we don't always like the plan, it is the true plan for a reason. So I really hope this has blessed you. And you guys have a wonderful day, or try to have a wonderful day. Stay prayed up, stay reading your word, and continue to build your faith.